we got a lot to get to today, but now you have me hungry here on this Wednesday morning. Hugh, yesterday we had the chance to air the Rob Thomson and Dave Dombrowski press conference, right? As the Phillies put a little bow on their season, and the state of the Phillies was given to us by those two, and we found out, of course, that Dave Dombrowski had extended the contract of Rob Thomson, which I'm good with. I wanted Topper back. We talked about that last week, and I might surprise you here. I'm bothered by what I heard yesterday. It had nothing to do with Topper, though. Like, I am fine with Topper coming back. In fact, on Friday, I said I would bring him back. That's not what bothered me yesterday. Hugh, I was bothered by the tone of that press conference yesterday because it came off to me as two things. Number one, hey, we got this, trust us. And number two, a little bit of a shrug of the shoulders about what happened at the end of the season. It didn't feel to me like they were really reflective on their issues and why they didn't win a World Series. And instead, they were almost going towards the randomness of baseball or, hey, we tried. What do you want us to do? Well, we want you to win a World Series championship, and we're concerned this team, which is older, is not going to get the job done without a real change here. And I walked away yesterday. We listened to the whole thing. We reacted a little bit. It was more towards the middle and end of our show. And I just came across bothered by the messaging those two brought across, especially Dombrowski. It just felt like hey, we gave it our effort, our all. What are you supposed to do?
It was a flippant.
That's a good word. Flippant. It was a little bit flippant. Flippant.
Okay, yeah, because I said I thought I was. Forget you, Kyle. I'm trying to raise my vocabulary here.
F-L-I-P-P-A-N-T. Flippant. Yeah,
flippant.
Not showing a serious or respectful attitude. You're right about that.
Yeah.
It was flippant, Hugh, and that bothered me yesterday. And not that I'm expecting them to go up there and say, oh, this was the worst season ever. We're sorry. They did win 95. They did make the playoffs. I get that. It just didn't come across. And maybe they're bluffing. I hope they're bluffing. I hope Dombrowski's bluffing. It didn't come across as a team serious about its own issues and why they failed in the biggest moment. How'd you feel?
I wasn't as upset as you were, but I picked up on what you picked up on. I looked at it like this. You're still operating from a position where you had the second best record in baseball. You've progressively gotten better every year. And I feel like with this fan base, you have to handle this fan base a little bit different than you handle any other. This is a smart baseball fan base. Very, very smart baseball fan base. And so when you say, I think there were some words in there that triggered a lot of people. The biggest one was it's just baseball. And, you get hot when you get hot. And I think that's what made people mad. Another thing that did not trigger me was the fact that he didn't really talk about major moves that were being made. You can't, Joe. That's how I looked at it because the season's still going on, technically. You're out of it, no doubt. But you want to operate from a position of power. I don't believe that they believe that the way that this team is constructed, they can go into another season doing the same thing.
I hope so. You think yesterday they were bluffing? Because they made it sound like they're running a lot of this back.
Well, listen to what was being said. I think that, who was it? Dombrowski, I think he forgot who he was talking to when he made the comment about Trey Turner's stats and the fact that Trey Turner is the same guy that he was. Like, his numbers are similar to what they were when he got here.
Defensively, yep.
And the fact that, his defensive numbers have diminished a little bit. He had plays in outfield, in the field where he didn't make and things of that nature. Though that's talking out of both sides of your mouth. And I think he forgot where he was when he did that. And I think that's what triggered a lot of people. But I looked at it like this. You can't, with the progress that this team has made in the last 3 seasons, you can't think that you can go into it next year doing the same thing that you did last year. Because he even said in the press conference, at the trade deadline, we didn't do a whole lot because we thought we had the guys that we had. And you went out and got, who was the guy that we got? Hayes?
Austin Hayes.
And he's the only guy that got traded during that trade deadline out of all the teams that came in for us and didn't do a thing. Well, everybody else contributed.
Jazz Chisholm is still playing.
Yes.
Lane Thomas is still playing. Yeah,
and that's unfortunate. That's
Jesse
unfortunate
for the Mets. Yep.
That's unfortunate for us. So I think that what happened for a lot of Phillies fans, they got triggered when they heard him use some of the terminology that he used and then hit you with, hey, it's baseball. You can't do that.
Yeah, to use a phrase you use, that dog don't hunt.
That dog does not hunt.
No. It almost felt like, hey, we did our job. So Dombrowski, I did my job. I built a good team. They didn't win. What do you want me to do? Do your job better. 215-592-9494. Let's hear some of Dave Dombrowski yesterday. I have Rob Thomson, because the more I listen, and I heard the cuts over and over again, I was listening in the car last night picking up my son from baseball, and TK was on, and he's playing some of this, and I'm like, this is annoying, what I heard yesterday. All right, let's go to Dombrowski yesterday, talking about, well, we didn't even have the worst chase rate in the series, against the Mets.
Yeah, the unfortunate part, you have a tendency to focus only on your own club, right? This is a downtime from an offensive perspective in professional baseball. What was the average? 243 at the end of the year. Most of our hitters were better than 243. You see the scores in the games in most of the postseason. There's not a lot of run production taking place. So at times we are vulnerable to being pitched well, as are other clubs. But I can't say that, like going into the last 2 months of the season, that we thought, that was going to be a major issue for us. But it's something we'll look at. We'll take a look at trying to address to see if we can make some changes. Sometimes, we talk about, it's interesting, and I know a theme is chase rate, right? I mean, everybody I read in here writes about chase rate. I think it was interesting. We got eliminated. We were 6th in major of the 12 clubs in chase rate in the postseason. And so that's not good, but it's not the worst. We didn't hit. We really didn't hit. Some of it's chase, some of it's approach, some of it's guys not being hot. We actually, if you looked at it, we chased less than the Mets did in that series, percentage-wise.
Can we print the T-shirts now? It's not good, but it's not the worst. The goal is to win a championship.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear that we weren't the worst, guys.
That's the part that I think rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
Yeah.
That's not what you want to hear after the outcome was what it was.
How about being the best? How about building a team? And he's right. He's right. Offense is down in baseball comparatively.
You have to know the audience that you're talking to.
Yes, and he does. I mean, Dombrowski's been around
a lot. But
this is why in Boston.
This is why sometimes, Joe, it's better to take another beat before you do something like that, because he knew he was going to get some tough questions. And shout out to all the reporters that did that. Devin was one that asked some pretty
tough question. Devin,
yeah,
he did a good job.
So it's one of those things where you can't come into a press conference, and I'm not saying he did this, but I'm pretty sure people felt like this, knowing or saying like, "Hey, I know more than you do."
It came across that way. It's just again, the quote, "It's not good, but it's not the worst." That's not what I'm looking for. We're looking to be the best. And the other part, there's context he left out of that. We brought one of the best pitching staffs in, right? He mentioned the Mets had a worse chase rate in the series than the Phillies. Well, they had to face our pitching. They had to face Zach Wheeler. They had to face what you would think is the best starting rotation 1 through 4, maybe we thought in the National League. Like, the Mets should have chased more. We had better pitching and throw at them. Their pitching wasn't their strength. So, like, that doesn't impress me, that statistic. He went on here talking about, do they need a missing piece, or are they supposed to play well at the right time? Here's Dombrowski.
Well, I don't think that's to me, the answer is not the missing piece. The answer is playing well at the right time. And so when you say that, I've always felt you go out there with 4 good starting pitchers, right? Well, we have 4 good starting pitchers. You go out there with a good bullpen. Our bullpen didn't pitch well. It just didn't. I mean, that's the way it is. But I really thought going into the postseason that it's an incorrect judgment by me and by a lot of us that we thought our bullpen would. That's what you're looking to do. We didn't score enough runs. We just did not. I mean, we scored runs in 1 game. We did not score runs in 3 games. And so you go back in the past years, there's some games we scored runs and there's other games we didn't. But you really have to play well at the right time. I've been with a lot of really good clubs. I mean, I was with the clubs in Detroit that had 3 future Hall of Famers on it and a lot of star players, and won our division almost every year. And we never won the World Series. It's hard to win. There's a lot of good clubs out there. And so you just have to be the club playing the best at the right time and maybe get a break or 2 there. But That's what makes winning so feel so good, because it's so hard.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it. It comes across as like, well, it's random. What do you want me to do? Well, build a better team. Make sure the holes you have. He mentioned, star players go cold sometimes. Offense is down. Maybe build a better, deeper lineup to have more answers in case that happens. Instead of having the 5 through 9 this lineup be just abysmal from a lot of the season, including the postseason. That was for. Let's hear one more. This was Topper. Topper didn't bother me quite as much as Dombrowski yesterday, but Topper yesterday, his extension was announced, which I think is the right thing, and I'm happy Topper's back. But Topper, he didn't get across the great message either yesterday. Here it was.
I mean, we have a good ball club. This is the roster is a championship roster. It really is. Dave and the front office have done a great job. Now, we haven't gotten it done. I haven't gotten it done. Do we make some tweaks for next year? Do we, we've already talked about it. Do we turn the lineup around or move people around to possibly get a more consistent offense? I don't know. We got to talk about it. At the start of the season, do we give more guys more days off? And I'm not just talking JT or one or two. I'm talking about everybody. Just so that maybe, was it fatigue that set in July? Maybe by giving guys an extra day off here and there early, we can extend that run a little bit longer and right into October.
At least he was a little more reflective of moving forward. I could do. Maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll do that. Dombrowski just seemed like, hey, what do you want me to do?
Well, because he's the money guy. He's the guy that is in a position to make the ball club better. And he's also in a position where he can't show his hand. That's why I kind of gave him a little bit of grace. But I do understand.
I get that part.
Yeah. But when you talk to this fan base and you say certain things that were triggering, I don't even think he realized until after he said it, that's where people were stuck on. But for the most part, the message to me, I took it as, well, you really can't tell what you're going to do. Because even when he was asked about, who are we talking about trying to get in the offseason?
Well, he was asked about big free agents. Obviously, we're thinking Soto.
Yeah. We're thinking Soto.
No one said that name because
nobody
he's still playing.
said, he's still playing. But when we start talking about bringing in another star and, possibly increasing the finances to get these guys, he really couldn't get into all that. This is a fluid situation. Even was asked about certain players. Like being a former player and hearing him talking glowingly about guys that we know as fans that we've seen not play well, it's somewhat annoying. But at the same time, I understood that you're in a position as a GM, as a guy that's making financial decisions about guys' futures, that you can't talk about that right now because you're still evaluating and trying to figure out how to make the team better.
I understand it, Hugh, and I didn't expect him yesterday to go up there and say, Alec Bohm, we're going to trade him. We're done with him. That would be silly, and that would actually be poor GM work by him. He can't ruin his leverage. It just, you know what it was? Down the stretch of the season, it felt like there was a lack of sense of urgency. I got that again yesterday from Dombrowski. 215-592-9494. That's how you hop in. Were you bothered by that end-of-season Phillies press conference? I was. Hugh wasn't. I was. It didn't set the right tone for me heading into an offseason where they need to figure out what is the missing piece. They don't want to say it, but I'll say it. They need to figure out what's the change, the tweak to get this thing over the top.